Hello and welcome to Marlins After Dark. Why? Because, of course, no team keeps you up late at night like the Miami Marlins. I'm your host, Sean Millerick. Just doing a little coverage. It is opening day. Happy opening day to everybody. Fortunately, it was not a happy result for the Marlins as they do fall 6-5 to the Pittsburgh Pirates in extra innings. Quite the marathon game, making it all the way to 12 extra frames before falling today. And this was rough coming on, I'll admit. Today's loss still stings. I'm pretty sure the season is over based on most of Marlins Twitter. But just wanted to get out there, get some thoughts on the game and on the season. It's been a bit of a hectic week. Haven't got my own episode out yet. And really, I figured I just wanted to save it for the home opener. Obviously, wish there was a happier result to celebrate, but we'll get into today's game briefly and then touch on the big news item from the week and just some series predictions. So, this show should be, once aside from opening day, this should be running every Tuesday during the season is my hope. And of course, you can also find my work and anything I do write, I make available. Find me on Twitter, still calling it Twitter, at Miami Sports Minute. I'll contribute to Call of the Pen, to Marlin Maniac. Occasionally, you can find me on Here's the Pitch, and just maybe some other platforms as well as the year goes on. Mostly here though on Marlins After Dark. But okay, so today's game for me, big heroes in this one. Jesus Luzardo, 5 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 8 strikeouts. Love to see it. Kid who grew up a Marlins fan, stepping into the spotlight. And there have been some other games here kind of like this, big Miami moments for him. Remember the World Series celebration game last season? Anytime he stepped out there in teal, it just felt like an event when he got the ball on a Flashback Friday. Last year, took the mound for the team first in the playoffs. But this one, he really answered the bell and did what you needed to do on an opening day starter, taking the mantle from Sandy. The bit that seemed a little scary early, kind of had that one freaky inning, which he seems good for, but then really settled down. And if this was a game in June, he almost certainly gets the ball in the 6th. But I think he had 85 pitches at the point that he left. It's a little dicey for day one, but still just 2 earned runs, 8 strikeouts, dominant stuff. Pirates weren't touching it after they got to him early, and hard not to feel good about that. Next big player, Jake Berger, 3 for 4 today with 3 RBI. It's my season MVP pick. I made that prediction at the start of the week and definitely stand by that one. That's not something I'm tearing up after day one. Because, if nothing else, it wasn't his fault how today went. Would have liked to have maybe seen a few more pitches taken in that his at bat and extra innings, but still 3 for 4, 3 RBI day. I think we're going to see big things from Jake Berger this season. And then Declan freaking Cronin. Then it's after 10 on the East Coast. Declan fucking Cronin steps up in a massive way. And it is after dark. We can swear. And because I think many of you are probably wondering, who the hell is this guy? I've never heard of this person coming into the game and just 3 innings pitch, takes the loss in a hugely unfair bit of bad luck. That's all the product of the world's stupidest extra inning overtime rule, which is the runner on second. But 3 innings pitch, 1 run. You just fired up on the mound as he kept keeping the Marlins in it and giving them another chance to win the game, which the offense was not able to take advantage of. Not that many strikeouts for the Marlins in this one. I saw Fish on First put this out just before coming on. Only 7 strikeouts for the Marlins in this one against 17 strikeouts for the Pirates in terms of at-bats. But unfortunately, it's kind of the same movie we've seen before in terms of runners in scoring position. And, weren't able to delivered Declan Cronin his first MLB win. But just the stuff you saw from him, of anyone in the bullpen, you had to be really encouraged by what Cronin was able to do. Otherwise, in this one, it's in terms of the least valuable players, from this game. As you may have noticed on Twitter, there's turned up that he who must not be named. Let's just call him that, because if I say Avisal Garcia's name aloud, I think I'm just gonna either have 7 years bad luck or just start swearing profusely about his existence on the roster. It's only one game. How hard could I really be on Avisal Garcia for going 0 for 2 when Luis Arias went 0 for 6? Which was unfortunate and obviously played a part in the Marlins losing today. But Luis Arias has earned his spot on the roster. Avisal Garcia never has done that. So 2 seasons in one game, still waiting for him to prove that. We'll always have that comeback home run against the Cardinals a couple of years ago, but beyond that, it's just frustrating every time he comes up, and you saw that in a big way. Even during the game, caught the audio, massive boos raining down, fairly or unfairly. It is one game into the season, but Avisal Garcia is on this roster at the expense of some other players, we could name that are in this organization or weren't brought into it. And until it seems like a matter of time. Hopefully he could turn it around, but I'm not holding my breath on that one. Again, Luis Arias 0 for 6, first time in his career that he's ever done that. I'm not too worried. We saw games last season where he had a couple 0-4 at the plate, or just a rough game, maybe a 1 for 5. I don't know how many 0-4s he really had over the course of the season, but then he'd come back and hit 3-4 hits the next day. And I think that's totally possible, especially with what this Pirates pitching rotation looks like after Mitch Keller. Would not surprise me to still see Arias turn this around pretty quickly. That's my main takeaways from this game. It's 1 out of 162. It's a game that the Marlins lost in frustrating fashion, and you can see some holes in the lineup where maybe if they had done some crazy outside the box thinking, like adding to an offense in a meaningful way that was the worst in the National League last year, maybe there would have been a few more runs. But at the end of the day, if the Marlins score 5 runs in a game, based off of last season, I'm going to be inclined to believe they should have a chance to win that game. I'm going to feel pretty confident that more often than not, they will if they put up that many runs. The problem is, how often will they put up that many runs? And I think that's the big concern. I guess only other thing I wanted to touch on, Sixto Sanchez. This one, I will admit, I did not see live. I'm going to go back and watch it, shortly. Opening day this year kind of fell right in a weird timing between my classes that I teach today. So missed a few innings there at the end. But so I did not get to see live yet. But Sixto Sanchez getting the ball in the 8th inning in a 1-run game. That's a choice. It's a choice that was, I think, brought upon Skip by the rest of the bullpen usage. By that point, I'm not sure. I guess he made as much sense as anyone that was left in that spot. But so you gave up a run, that's one way to look at it. Gave up a home run, tied the game, not great. On the other hand, he had an 11-pitch inning, and 10 of them were good. It's still kind of amazing that he's here. It's not the way he wanted his first outing to go, I'm sure, and not the way he expected it to be in that high leverage of a situation. Maybe we could ease him in next time, but then again, if we're easing him in, then it probably means that the Marlins are losing by a great many runs. And so I hope that's not the case, but very interested to see his second appearance, which would almost certain to be less stressful than the one he faced today. Okay, next up, just want to, before we're talking about the main news topic of the week, other than opening day and some predictions, a couple of trivia answers. kind of joked about this on Twitter earlier. A couple of if you're watching the show, I'm assuming you follow me on Twitter. And I talked about this some on the Fish on First stream earlier today. My particularly, I guess, mean trivia question out there. 2 players in Marlins history who kind of had the longest streaks, or not 2 players, 2 positions in Miami Marlins history on opening day, where there's the longest stretch of it being a different starter each year. And you've got a lot of interaction. So I'm definitely going to try to do some more trivia questions, maybe, a little less prickish in terms of how obscurely hard they are. But had a lot of fun interaction with fans today. So I just wanted to show the answers to that. And if you were watching on Fish on First earlier, you probably saw them show up on the screen. But just throw up the graphic. So there's positions where there was a 6-year stretch where the Marlins had a different catcher 6 years in a row, and a 7-year stretch. And that was the one in the question that most people were interested in, where it was a different right fielder. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So your 6-year stretch for catcher was from 2001 to 2006. In case you can't really read it on the screen, that was Charles Johnson, Mike Redmond, Ivan Rodriguez, Ramon Castro, Paul LaDuca, then Miguel Olivo. And then for right field, that was from 98 to 2004. That saw Gary Sheffield, Mark Kotze, I guess Brant Brown. See, that even threw me there. Eric Owens, Kevin Millar, Juan Encarnacion, and then Miguel Cabrera, who, yes, at one point was an opening day right fielder. So, yeah, that's just the answers for that. Okay. The next up on the rundown here, Jon Berti. Wrote about it for Marlin Maniac. So hopefully you found that article and got a chance to discuss it a little bit today with the Fish on First folks on their pregame show. Always fun talking to them. But just wanted to just go, full vent on the Jon Berti news, which dropped yesterday. Can still say that we're not past midnight yet. Whereas now, so less than 24 hours before opening day, Jon Berti, second most valuable hitter in terms of WAR last season, to the Marlins, one of the longest tenured members of the Marlins offense, had a career year last year. I mean, if you want to argue the year that he led the NL in stolen bases was his career season, that's fine. But how useful was that season really? Last year he had 294 for a team that made the playoffs. And less than 24 hours before opening day, he is traded. And he is traded to the New York Yankees for a pair of single A prospects who will not see the majors for at least 2 years, if not 3 or 4. And that's, first knee-jerk reaction was maddeningly frustrating. I think I tweeted out a couple mean-spirited polls about what they were thinking. And that's probably because for the 2024 season, it sends a horrible message, right? And if we just think of today's game, I don't know about you. I know there are multiple times where I was watching extra innings unfold that I was thinking that, gee, if only there was some other player on this roster, maybe someone who hit 600 in an extra innings last season, maybe someone who had a 329 battage from the 7th inning on last year, maybe someone who had a bunch of clutch hits to get Miami to the playoffs last season. And that's Jon Berti. And if he was in the lineup able to do that, if he was available off the bench to come in, if he was taking that at bat other than Avisel Garcia, I think this game could have gone differently. Not that there weren't, plenty of other issues to worry about in this game for why that one got away from them, but Jon Berti makes a difference. Jon Berti makes the 2024 Marlins better. There is zero way to feel good about the fact that Jon Berti was traded. And I think that speaks positively of the Marlins' chances in 2024 or the front office's intentions of making 2024 a season as competitive as last season. In terms of the return, getting John Cruz and Shane Sasaki, and it was a 3-way trade. Of course, we had to get Tampa Bay involved in the transaction. They're pretty much the new feeder team for the Miami Marlins. I believe John Cruz seems to be a very exciting, prospect. I gave the trade a B earlier today. Everything I've read, and I'm not a big prospect analyst by any means, but everything I've seen shows that this is a player quickly on the rise. He's going to slot way high up the Marlins board. It's a thin system, and he was 28 for the Yankees. He's going to be well over 20, I would imagine, for the Miami Marlins once those updated rankings come out. And then Shane Sasaki as well. Seems like he's projecting more as a utility type player, but still two outfielders who at this moment can't play center, which is been a big hole for a while, at least in the Marlins system. Jazz is filling it capably now, but he's even alluded to in a recent podcast you may or not have heard of, that he would still love to play shortstop, and that I would imagine that transition is still possibly in the organization's plans down the line. So getting two upside outfielders that could stick in center for a player that they probably did sell high on. I have no problem with the Marlins selling high in general. This seems like a very raised transaction. It reminded me a lot of the Joey Wendell trade, when the Marlins traded for Joey Wendell from Tampa before Bendix was part of the organization, and they were fully embracing their Rays vision. I think I can imagine Peter Bendix jumping up and down in the back of the room, saying they needed to sell high on that super utility player at that point in time. And he's calling all the shots now, and I think he did it again. And I think we could expect many other moves like this over the course of this season, unfortunately, and just going forward. And all Marlins fans can really do is hope that more often than not, that trade ends up being the right move. So I expect Jon Berti to have a solid season for the Yankees, but I do expect him to have just had his best season last year. Mid-30s player who was, the Marlins have a couple guys like him, on the roster. So you can kind of see why they might have felt he was expendable, but it's just the timing that I question. It's always time and freaking time again, just shitty timing with the Marlins when they do these kinds of moves. Just if they'd done this a month ago and then actually, in addition to making the move, replaced him, with an upside back you were excited about, some free agent that was available, JD Davis, Gio Urshela, brought in a DH bat. Maybe they bring in a JD Martinez. Maybe they bring in an Adam Duvall. Maybe they sign a Tommy Pham. If you make some other, kind of move in part concert with it, then fine. Then no quarrel. I'd been sad for a day because I love Jon Berti, but doing it the day before opening day and only replacing with in-house options, I'm sure it was a really, exciting moment of a lifetime for Jonah Bride today. I can think of many other players I'd rather have, thus far. And it's just on the heels of a playoff appearance. You'd like to see at least one more, if not two, stronger additions, to this offense. And they didn't really add to the offense, and they just subtracted from it. They took their best power hitter out, and they took their second best hitter in terms of WAR away from last season. And it's just hard to feel excited about that in terms of what it means for this year. But in terms of the prospect return down the line, great move. It's nice for the Marlins to finally be on the other side of one of these things. I joked earlier today that as opposed to the Marlins, trading for some, stopgap veteran type piece to help out, and seeing our own prospect expert Alex Carver tearing his hair out over the fact that we can give up a Jose Salas or a Bryson Churio. That now there's a Yankees Alex Carver out there somewhere freaking out about giving up John Cruz just for old man Jon Berti. I look forward to seeing what he can do in a few years, but it does make me a little pessimistic about this season. Get into, which I'll just wrap here really quickly on predictions. Short show. We won't even hit 30 minutes. I just want to get my official predictions out there in audio form. Posted this to Twitter earlier, but my two bold predictions that I feel really good about for the 2024 season. Again, I am big on Jake Berger, really drinking the Kool-Aid and what he did to his swing last season. And so I see him as a 40 home run plus hitter. The strikeout rate did climb up a little bit in spring training, so that has me maybe backing me off slightly on thinking he might even get MVP votes. But I do think he'll hit 40 home runs. I do think he'll certainly be the Marlins MVP for the season. And my other certainly bold prediction is I'm going to say that Trevor Rogers leads the team in innings pitched. And that is partly an endorsement of Trevor. I think that he's going to come back, finally healthy. I think he's had a lot of bad luck injuries. I think it's a bit unfair to label him as injury prone. I think, if you want to label him as prone to misfortune since the middle of 2021, you could do that. But like last year, particularly the injury that kept him out the longest was not even his throwing arm. So I think a full season, or at least a full season for what that amounts to for his innings pitched, I think he'll be very effective for the team. And I expect him to stick and look much more like the 2021 version of Trevor Rogers. But another part of this is that, I phrase it this way. I'm not saying he's going to get Cy Young votes. I'm saying he's going to lead the team in innings pitched. And that's partly because for this season, I think the Marlins will be, interesting, fun to watch, and I'll put more of a bow on this in my season prediction in a moment. But I could see players being traded. I can see players being hurt. There's a lot of pitchers that are already hurt and on their way back. And I would imagine that one of them probably won't make it back, that there'll be some kind of setback in rehab and we won't even see them. I don't think that's being pessimistic. I think that's just being someone who has watched Major League pitching over the last decade and decade plus. And then I think trades could happen as well. Jesus Luzardo looked awesome today. I think every moment that he's on the team, he has the off start here or there, but for the most part, I expect him to continue to develop, to be solid, to be the best pitcher on the team while he's in a Marlins uniform. But he's also has had his own issues with health in the past, and I really think there's an excellent chance he could be traded before next opening day. So between those two facts, I'm going with Trevor for leading the team in innings pitched. I almost could have gone with Brax there, but Brax is not healthy now. Trevor is, so I'm going to go with him. But that's the thinking behind that pick. And then lastly, I'll just get the record out there officially, 77 and 85. I think a few days ago, maybe even just Tuesday, I said that they'd go 78 and 84 in my official prediction. I'm not going to win off, and it's not for today. It's not revisionist. I almost said 76. 76 wins, but that would have been cheating based off of today's game. But I'll say 77 and 85 for the Marlins in 2024. I'm pretty much docking them a win for trading a Jon Berti, and what that does for me in terms of confidence that the Marlins will, do much in terms of bringing outside help to help the team in 2024. I don't think that'll happen if you're getting rid of a Jon Berti before the season. I do think they'll make the right moves with their players in-house. I believe that the team wants to be competitive, but competing is not the same thing as contending. And any team that is serious about contending does not trade a Jon Berti the day before opening day. So unfortunately, I think that puts them at 77 and 85. Again, I think with so many pitchers hurt already, I imagine other injuries will occur between now and September. And just fun to watch. A lot of things to feel good about on the field. Jazz is must-watch TV. Berger is must-watch TV. Any arm that the Marlins have is, electric while it's healthy. But it was the worst offense of the National League last season, and they did not do enough to fix the offense in 2024. In fact, they took two of their three best hitters away from it, and it's supposed to somehow be better. I think that the overall organization is deeper in terms of talent that's available, but in terms of high-end talent, there's less of it in the lineup, and that's upsetting. to say the least. So 77-85. I'd be more likely to believe they'd go low on that than above. But then again, got the manager of the year, have a clubhouse that really bonded together and surprised us more often than not. They're 0-1 and run one-run games at the moment, but after what they did last season, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt until things really start to run away from them. So 77-85, fun season to watch for sure, but it's going to be a step back from last year in many ways. But they're going to win tomorrow because still it's opening day, it's opening week, and going to be optimistic. And plus, I still have my official prediction earlier is the splitting this series, so they've got to win 2 out of the next 3, or otherwise I look like an ass. So till next week, I'll be back on Tuesday. This is Marlins After Dark, and go fish.